Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV. Hi, everyone. Welcome to Good Taste with Tangi, the podcast, which we call Good Taste for the Soul. So glad you're with us today. You know, back when we started Good Taste about 16, 17 years ago, Italy was the inspiration for the show. We absolutely love Italy, the food, the people, the wine, what's not to love. And that really was what sparked the desire in us to do Good Taste. Early on at that time, I saw that Lidia Bastianich was going to be in town to promote a show she was doing with PBS. So, on a whim, I reached out to her team and asked if she would consider cooking with me in my kitchen for back then what was a tiny little show. Amazingly, surprisingly, she said yes. She is an incredible lady. We've worked together a handful of times since then, once even in New York City at the fantastic Italy. If you haven't been, I highly suggest you go. Well, Lydia continues to rock the TV culinary world. Her work on PBS is just fantastic. She even has a new line of pasta sauces, which we're going to taste in a minute and talk about. Lydia has really forever changed the way I cook, and I am so excited and so honored that Lydia said yes to us today to share more about her new sauce line, and I want to talk to her about some of my favorite recipes of hers. Lidia Bastianich, welcome to Good Taste for the Soul. I am so excited to get to work with you once again.
Buongiorno, Tangi. My pleasure. It's been a while.
It has been a while. It has been a while. You haven't seen me, but I've seen you.
Okay, good. No, now and then, I see you on YouTube or here or there.
Yeah.
I sort of follow what everybody's up to.
Oh, good. Well, good. Well, as you know, if you followed us, you and I first met, oh golly, some 15 some odd years ago when we were starting the business. And it has always been such a highlight that Lydia cooked in my kitchen. I'll never forget that.
It actually was your home. I
Yeah.
remember I came to your home. I think your husband was there even
Yeah.
assisting us in some. Was he there?
Yes, he was.
All right.
He
Yes.
was. And what was so funny about it, I was expecting, well, number one, I never expected for that to happen. And so when it did, it was a big deal. But you were so kind, but you showed up and knocked on the door. I think I was expecting an entourage of people and someone coming ahead of you and all that. It was like, oh my gosh, Lydia just walked up to my door and knocked on the door, and here we are.
Right. Lydia is Lydia, and Tangi was
Yes.
Tangi. So but I'm still that way. I think maybe that is my connecting element to the audience out there.
Yes.
I do have, of course, we have assistants, because producing a show and books and all of that takes a lot of testing of recipes and research and all of that. And I have my daughter Tanya; she does a lot of that for me. But you do need a team. But you know, coming to your house, and I remember, you were telling me, you told me the story was the beginning of your, if it not one of the first, or if not the
Yeah,
first episode.
it was.
Yeah.
It certainly
And
was.
I think because I remember when I started how Julia Child was very much influenced my takeoff, and how important it is, if you believe in something, then share the goodness, share the beauty. And here you are 15 years later, going on beautifully and strong. Congratulations.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. The other thing I admired about you, and I saw it that day firsthand, was your work ethic. I expected you would come and we might cook one or two things, but I don't know if you remember this, but we did something on olives. We did something on olive oil. We cooked a couple of 2 or 3 different recipes. It was like you were just like a work machine. It was awesome.
Well, I think you were curious too. And so, I just, for me, there was the subject matter that I love, that I know. And if you were curious, it was just, it was talking to you and sort of sharing and teaching with you. The
Yeah.
fact that the camera captured us was another plus. But I looked at it this way, okay, I'm there. You want to know. What do you want to know? And you were curious.
Oh, well, and I learned a lot, and our viewers did too, and they love you as well. It, one of your books, there's one in particular I love. All of your cookbooks are great, and we're going to talk about your new marinara sauces as well, pasta sauces. This one really spoke to me probably the most. Lydia cooks from the heart of Italy. You have the way the book is divided into the regions in Italy, I think
Right.
is quite fascinating. And that's become a big culinary topic as well, is how cuisines from other parts of the world are no longer just lumped into one big geographic area. There are like little dimensions, right, within each culture of different styles, flavors.
Yeah, absolutely. Italy has 20 regions, and there were two books, 10 regions in one and 10 regions in another. Now, Italy is smaller than California, so it's not a big country. 20 regions, how big can the regions be? And yet, there's such a difference between each regions. I guess maybe the topography, but the climate, whatever changes, microclimates, all of that makes a difference. And the different occupations, from the south, more of the Arabs, the Moors, the Spaniards, the north, the Germanic tribes, and all of that shows in the food that the regions cook. So that book sort of focuses on that.
Well, I part of the book too. I love for people who aren't familiar with your life story, because you made a comment in one of these. Every recipe has a story, and every story is a piece of my personal memoir. And your entire life tells a pretty wonderful story, including when your parents first immigrated here, right?
Yes, well, you see, I came to the United States. I was a 12-year-old immigrant. And talking about regions, the most northeastern region of Italy, Friuli Venezia Giulia, is now, and it now borders with Austria and Slovenia. But that region went into Istria and part of Dalmatia. So after World War II, Italy lost the war, and the border went down at Trieste. And Istria, where I was born, went to communist Yugoslavia. So we were under communism. So I was just born in that period, and it was difficult. You couldn't really be Italian. They didn't allow you to speak Italian or practice your religion or whatever. It was communism. We escaped back into Italy. Escaping back into Italy, they had changed our names by then because they didn't want any Italian names or whatever, and so we ended up in a refugee camp. And I spent 2 years a refugee camp in Trieste, awaiting for to migrate. My parents wanted a new life for all of us, and ultimately in 1958. Dwight Eisenhower was the president. He opened immigration for people fleeing communism, and we came here in 1958. I was 12 years old, and so food for me at that period, because I left behind grandma, and grandma was a simple woman. She produced all the food for the family. We had goats, we had chickens, we had ducks, we had pigs, and all of that. And I helped her in a sense. I was in that, so I was connected to growing food, to milking the goats, making ricotta. And when we escaped and left that, I was very nostalgic for that time with grandmother and all the food memories that I had. And I started cooking. Cooking became my connector, my kind of comfort zone, and my sharing. And then as I went on and had my family and on, that was I made sure that I have they had all known the foods that I grew up with. They know how to cook it and so on. And then it went beyond, then I had this new family that was America. I had to share with them my origins, because this was my new home. I was accepted. So this my two homes. And that's how I got actually into really the food, the teaching of the food, television, and so on.
Well, and you talk about in the book too the difference between Italian food in Italy and what Americans thought of as Italian food. You don't remember spaghetti and red
Well,
sauce, or
spaghetti, dry pasta, there was in Italy, but like these mounds of spaghetti and meatballs, these big meatballs, that was not part of our culture. So yes, the Italian American cuisine was different. When I came here, I found it, and that intrigued me as well. So did research over the time, and a valiant cuisine, and a cuisine of adaptation of these new immigrants that came, and they didn't find the products that they had in Italy, so they had to. They remembered the recipes, so they cooked what they remember with what they found, and it became kind of a different cuisine, but it is rooted in the Italian culture.
well, the Thank goodness for the Italians, right? I think I told you when we met, Italy was the inspiration for what we do. I thought it'd be fun to hear your comments on some of the recipes that I just absolutely love. Again, this is my go-to book. I have made so many of these things, some of these recipes over and over again. The veal chops with fontina. That sounds so fancy. When people find out how wonderfully easy it is, because you make these recipes, it's good ingredients, but it's not like 30 ingredients, and they're great.
Right. Well, veal is a nice tender meat. But you could do this with veal. You can do it with pork chops. You can do it with the chicken breast. Recipes. It's wonderful. You have a recipe, and then you can modify it. But what's good is the sort of the mellowness of the meat and the richness and the mellowness of the fontina cheese. It's milky, it's creamy, it's all of that. And it's simple. In a pan, you just sort of saute it in a pan, a little bit of wine, I think a little bit of sage or whatever, and it's easy.
Yeah.
And it's delicious.
And
I mean, I must say it might be a little expensive in today's.
What is it, Lydia?
But that's why I say you could use chicken breast.
Yeah.
And
And
it's
pork
okay.
chops right now, I don't know about in New York, but in Texas, pork chops are still reasonable, and you can get them thick and butterfly. You're right, but that's why
Absolutely.
I have been doing a lot of pork. You have another one in here I've done, and I thought it just sounds so simple and interesting. The sausages with grapes. You do it in a skillet. Simple.
I love cooked fruit, poached fruit, and I love fruit and protein, and especially if it's because fruit sort of helps you digest or break down the proteins, the fats,
Right.
and so with the sausages, the you cook the sausages nice, simple in a skillet, a little wine, a little whatever, nice, and when they're almost cooked, you put the grapes because the grapes you don't want the grapes to explode. You want the grapes to remain. You just want to kind of heat them up, make them juicy, and then when you take a piece of sausage and the warm grape sort of squirts in your mouth, and it's easy and it's simple. But you can imagine you can do that with cherries. You can do that with other fruit, with pears, pieces of pears. You can just change it. Now in the season, in the fall, pears are good. Pear
Yeah.
and sausages. I do pears and pork chops in the oven. Delicious.
Yum. Okay. That's next on my to-do list. And then the other one I have marked is the one you and I cooked so many years ago together, the chicken with olives and pine nuts. I bet I've made that dish. Oh gosh, I bet 50 times. Everyone loves it every single time. It is so easy and it's so much flavor. It's just chicken.
The olives bring a lot of flavor, and they're good. So and of course the pine nuts, the nuttiness of the pine. Of the pine nut, bringing it to it's a creaminess, almost almost a little piney flavor. So those flavors really harmonize well, and they bring a lot to the chicken. Especially you can do the chicken thighs, which are I like, but if you decide to do chicken breast, maybe this flavors can really augment that, kind of add to the chicken, sometimes simplicity of the chicken breast.
Yeah. I love the chicken thighs. I usually substitute thighs in almost everything I make with chicken.
Sure. Sure.
Anyway. And on that day, and I still am a huge fan of your Vespa wine, by the way.
Vespa, Bastianich
Yes.
Vespa. Yeah.
Yes.
If you go on bastianich.com, and then you can get a site of our vineyards and all the different kind of wines that we make. So there's other ones, and that again is up in the area, in the region of Friuli, Venezia Giulia, which is north of Venice, in that area up there.
Yeah, they make beautiful wine up there, right? It doesn't get really crazy hot, and it's
exactly. It's a great climate. It's the end of the Alps, the Julian Alps. So it's the Coglio region, the kind of hilly region, which, for good wines, you need that cold, and then you need that drainage and all of that. So it's the ideal area.
It makes good wine. That Vespa has always stuck with me when I see it out and about. Sometimes it's Central Market, sometimes it's at Specs or someplace else. I get it and you can order online if I'm not mistaken. When I looked at it the other day, you can do that too. keeping in with the recipe thing, because everyone loves to talk food when it's Lidia Bastianich talking about Italian food, and that's a true statement. What do you like to cook when you're in your kitchen at home, or even if you just have a nice afternoon? What do you enjoy cooking? Is there a go-to dish?
Genji, it's about the season for me. It's about the product, mushrooms and squash and soups and braising techniques. I love that, and that great sort of sauce that you get from the braising techniques. You can make polenta, you can make gnocchis with it, you can make pasta with it. And it's great because you can use kind of secondary cuts of meat, in that process. Uh, talking about how expensive meat is, but you can use the muscle meats, the shanks, all of this to make this long cooking techniques that will yield a nice tender meat once it's cooked for an hour and a half, plus the sauce that you can dress, as I said, pastas, polentas, and so on, or just dunk bread in it.
Oh yeah, I mean, you got to have bread when you're having anything with Italian sauce. I mean, that's
Yeah,
part
yeah,
of it.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
For sure. By the time this airs, this will air in January. So it'll be in winter, but keep in mind in Texas, fall and winter are a lot the same. Um,
Uh-huh.
but I think because of technology and transportation, we can go to the grocery store anymore and buy anything out of season. And I talk a little bit about how important it is to cook seasonally. It's not only important for the best taste, I think, but also for the farmers. There's so many benefits.
Right. Going retro again to my grandmother, it was always about the seasons. What was she planting? What was she? And then preserving what was the richness of the summer and all of that, whether it's drying the beans, making sauerkraut, pickling things, vegetables, all of that. And then we would use it in the winter. But I think what this really makes so much sense to be in unison with our environment, so if you're going to have raspberries from Chile in January, they got to fly over and think of
Yeah.
all the waste of fuel and all of that. And you have wonderful things. I mean, the cranberries might have just passed, but there's a lot of wonderful, there's pears, there's apples, there's all kinds of fruits that you can have locally and you can use, and it is the right way. And also it sort of supports the local communities, the local farmers, and that's important. Our farmers here in America are having problems, because so many things are flown in and here and there, and maybe in where labor might be cheaper, at the end they might be very competitive in price. So seasonal, health wise, environmentally wise, our farmers, let's be good to our farmers, let's buy the product. As consumers, we complain sometimes about the food and not being healthy and all this additives and whatever. As consumer, we have the potential to change. It's not a fast change, that you're going to change legislation right away, but put the money where your idea is. Buy what you value, and slowly, when the big companies sense that people are not buying, are not spending, they'll change their mind. So if in unison we all follow a sort of a respectable regimen for our environment, for the natural food, for our farmers, encourage them to grow natural foods, pay a little more if it's organic and whatever, and we should do that as consumer, all of us, all over America. That's what we should be doing.
Yeah, I'm very excited about the potential of the awareness that's going to be raised, and it already has started. Our new administration comes in January, about the time you and I
Right,
this will
right.
top, and I think just the RFK Jr. fact, the controversy that people who have no controversy with him, he has elevated the conversation, and it's clear this is going to be a priority, and people are paying attention already. I think we all see and can realize there's something not right in our statistics when you compare our health of our children and obesity rates to other countries. So it all starts, so much of it's our food, I think.
Absolutely, and I just read from the European perspective, whether it's Italy or France, they're not importing American beef because it has all the, the antibiotics in there and whatever. the American corn because it is GMO and so on. And so, they are small countries, but almost more conscious to the value of the food that we eat and how we grow our food than America. So yes, we need to get on that really trend and make the government aware of what we want as as clients. And again, where does it end? Don't spend the money on something you don't believe in.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that as clients, we pay their salary, right? In theory.
Exactly. Sometimes you don't think so, but yes, we do.
We'll keep hammering on them, that's for sure. When it comes to Mexican food restaurants in San Antonio, a few names come to mind: Los Barrios, La Hacienda de los Barrios, and Violas Ventanas. All are family owned and operated local restaurants. These restaurants have been featured on Good Morning America, The Today Show in New York, along with many other national and international programs. The Barrios family have been in the restaurant business for more than 50 years in San Antonio. Come join the fun and become part of the family. You've always got something new going on. I just watched one of your PBS specials. I know you do specials every year on change makers, and you really bring and shed a light on things we just talked about. The people around the country really making a difference in food supply and getting good food to underserved neighborhoods and whatnot.
Right.
Um, they're
Yeah,
wonderful.
Tenji, it's Lydia Celebrates America. And it's a 1 hour sort of documentary special that I do, and it's my 12th year. I do my cooking show regularly every week across the PBS channels, but this is sort of, I wanted to kind of thank America my way and go around America and find out the good things that America, because sometimes as an immigrant, I look at America. There's no better place in the world than America, and yet sometimes it is maligned. And I says that can't be true. So let me find all the good things that I know are there. And this one is about young Americans, change makers, and how they approach the future of food or the philosophy of what we are to eat. From a young chef in Appalachia. She felt that her region, her cuisine was a little diminished and it was, the way I remember Appalachia, seeing Appalachia is these poor people in front of these dilapidated homes. I went there and it's not so. And she is determined to make her region, if you will, bring the food and the products forth. Use the products, the traditional products, whether it's cabbage, whether it's the rabbit, all of these things that really make sense environmentally, and elevate it. She worked in France, she worked in Italy. She says, now I'm going to go back to Appalachia and I'm going to raise the bar there. And I thought that was a valiant move. I thought that was wonderful. And then also, the fact of how much food Americans waste.
Oh,
We waste
it's
40%
horrible.
of the food that is produced,
Yeah.
and so there's I think this young woman in California, and she in the area in the that she comes from are poor neighborhoods of farmers, that work land. Uh, this is the land that produces most of the vegetables for all of America and export. And she said, and yet the people within the neighborhood didn't have enough of fresh vegetables. They eat all this processed food because maybe it was cheaper or whatever. So she's determined. She goes around. She has a whole setup. She collects food that from the farmer. Sometimes you get a cabbage or an apple is not perfect or a cabbage leaf is. She collects all of that because that's perfectly fine to eat. I remember,
Absolutely.
my grandmother had a little, the apple didn't look perfect. Well, you peeled it, you cleaned it, but you ate it. It was delicious.
No, it's
And she
well,
goes
if you,
around.
anyone that's grown a garden can identify with that.
Exactly. She goes around and she collects all this food and then redistributes it. She redistributes it to areas, and because in these locales, the big stores, there's no money for them, so there is no big stores that bring in fresh vegetables. It's all this prepackaged, and she delivers these vegetables to these stores and says, "Here, give it, not even sell it." Give it, and she opens up the door and she makes it like a market. So once or twice a week, a whole line of people come with their bags and whatever the vegetables have been collected, they take home and they cook. And it was wonderful to see these people, and what a lineup,
It
of
was.
people.
It was wonderful to watch. It was fascinating because you start
Ah,
on the eastern side of the country and you work your way all the way to the West Coast.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, yeah. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I
It's
did.
it aired in November, right before Thanksgiving, but it's still available on PBS site. Just look for Lydia Celebrates America, and your viewers can get to see it.
Yeah, maybe it'll spark some ideas to some people watching and hearing about it for the first time because in their community, it really was talk about major change makers. They
Yeah,
definitely
and
are.
these are young people. Young people usually in the food industry, and they're making a difference.
Yeah, which is wonderful. And you continue to make a difference. You've come up with a wonderful line of pasta sauces.
Yes, my marinara sauces. Again, it's I work very much in response to the viewers, to the people out there, and a lot of them have the opportunity to come to my restaurants, to buy my books, maybe, and to cook my recipes and whatever. But some of them, would like to connect with Lydia in some way. So, the marinara sauce and the tomato sauce, which I make, are just the basic for the Italian cuisine, and I'm very conscious about it. It's no GMOs, none, everything natural. Even the garlic, we buy all California garlic. The tomatoes, we buy the Italian tomatoes. So the sourcing of the ingredients, and it is a really delicious, and naturally, kind of savvy, if you will, sauce. Are you gonna done?
I have
I
some.
used to Go ahead. I used to do that all the time. When grandma was cooking the sauce, you grab a piece of bread and you just run and you dunk it in. And sometimes I used to burn my lip because it was hot.
Well,
Is
this
it
is
good?
cold and it's delicious.
Yeah, it's fresh. And
Yes.
but do you know what you with this? Yes, to make pasta and all of that, but it's much more, because let's say that you have chicken breast or pork
Mhm.
chops or whatever, or shrimps or whatever. You saute whatever the protein is, a little bit of garlic, season it, whatever, and then at the end you add some of the sauce, because the sauce is cooked, and you let it cook, so you get you can make peppers and mushrooms. You get a pork chop pizzaiola. You can put just mushrooms. Get chicken cacciatore, and you can make sausages with this sauce, and so on. It is so diverse. Even, you know what, uovo al purgatorio. You can put this in a pan and you bring it to a boil, and then you crack some eggs in it, and it's a great brunch. You know,
Really?
Yeah, eggs cooked right in the sauce, and then you have to sort of with a spatula take it out gently, so you don't crack the eggs, and put it on a toast and whatever. And if you have a brunch, if you have 10, 12 people, you get a big sort of saute pan with 2 jars of Lydia sauce, and you have brunch for everybody.
I love that. I love that. And variety of flavors. This one is the marinara. Are there different variations of it?
Right, there is the marinara, the tomato. There is a vegetable one, an artichoke one, and we
Ah,
have capricciosa, which is spicy, and a vodka sauce.
so
And a vodka sauce. It's and it could be, you could order it from Amazon, or and what's really nice. If you want to have a gift, a Lydia gift for somebody, you can order the jars and the book from Amazon and all, and they kind of send it. It's a nice Lydia gift to send if you have.
I love that. And I'm looking at your ingredients. I'm everything I buy anymore, you have to check the ingredients and look for what shouldn't be there.
Right,
This is fabulous. Italian tomatoes, carrots, extra virgin olive oil, garlic,
right.
sea salt, basil, and crushed red pepper.
That's it.
Yeah,
That that's it. Simple, and you can taste the freshness on your
you
on your
absolutely can. In fact,
right. And you can get it in stores too.
good. No, it is. It just screams freshness. And like I say, this is just straight out of the jar. I'm sure it gets richer and wonderful when you heat it and cook it down, but it's fabulous just like that. It really is.
Good, good. All right. I'm glad you like it.
Oh, a lot.
Approval.
No, I absolutely do. I love it. I was excited to find out about it. I keep jars of tomato sauce in my pantry because just like you said, there are so many versatile ways to cook with it, and it takes 5 seconds, right?
Right, right, right. Absolutely. Instead of chicken breast, saute it, tic tac, a little bit of mushrooms, a little bit of the sauce, and not smother it even. Even like if there's two of you, half a jar, and the rest you save it. Keeps well in the refrigerator, but you can also
Yeah.
freeze it. Once you open it, freeze it right away in a pint container, and you have it for next time.
Well, and as we were talking earlier about the produce coming out of season and all that, it is so I don't know about New York, but to get a really rich, ripe tomato anymore, it's a challenge if you don't grow them in your own yard.
Yeah, absolutely. It is. We have now, the blessing of having this farmers markets. What I
Yep.
was talking before, to really encourage these farmers to go to the markets to buy their produce or products. Encourage them, and encouragement is a fulfillment sort of. The more you encourage the farmers, the more they'll grow. If they know that somebody will buy it, and so we have to do that. But that's where you find it. I have my own little, up north here it gets cold, but I have my own little garden where I have my tomatoes for the summer. I love it. It's just growing and see that it can grow. But then you can just take it off the vine and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I've had a garden now for about 3 years, and I just pulled my last tomato off the vine about 3 weeks ago. So
Uh,
it's Texas is a little different than the seasons.
I would say so. Well, I'll tell you what's happening in my garden. It's all clean, but what I did about 2 weeks ago, I planted garlic. The garlic you plant in
Yeah.
fall, the cloves. So I planted the garlic, and I got some straw because it freezes here. Some straw. I covered it so it stay nice and warm, and nice and cozy. And in the springtime, it's going to begin to sprout.
Oh, wonderful. There's nothing like it. If someone hasn't grown a garden, even if it's just on your back patio in little raised bed or pots or something, it is such a connector to Mother Nature. I tell people, and they think I'm strange. There's something for me spiritual about it.
There
It's
is.
a wonderful connector to
There
our
is, there
creator.
is that this dirt that we take in our hand actually feeds us, gives us gift of food. It is a miracle.
Yeah, it really is. It's quite fascinating to watch. You've got so much going on. You have a huge Emmy for what, 25 years?
Yes. Now I've been on public television 26 years now. So
Oh my
last
goodness.
year I see your Emmy there. Congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Is there an Emmy right there?
Yeah.
By the Yeah, congratulations. Um, it was the 25-year very special Emmy that I got. I had two before, so I'm very proud, and I know you're very proud, and you should be. But it was great. It felt so good to be honored. But it was 25 years that I was on PBS. Now it's on 26 years.
Well,
So
it's a
yeah,
huge
yeah.
accomplishment. Huge, huge, huge. And you're still going. You've got another cookbook you're working on right now, right?
Right. I'm working on all pasta. I was, and again, I work in and respond. What is it out there and pasta is people are watching, but pasta is still one of those things that it's easy, it's rewarding, it's inexpensive, it's it's versatile. You can make anything out of pasta with anything that you've got. So this book is going to come out next fall in 25, and it's going to be all about pasta, all kinds of pasta, the fresh pasta, the dry pasta, the shapes, and even
Ah,
gnocchi and so on. Yeah, so it's soups, whatever, pasta in any form.
I love that. I love pasta anyway. I've made it, but I don't do it often because for me it's time consuming and it's a little challenging to get it just right. But really, they've come out with some really good dry pastas too, right?
Dry pasta is fantastic. I love dry pasta. It's two completely different field.
Yeah.
And one is not better than the other. One would say, "Oh, you make homemade pasta." Yeah, it sort of requires more effort and whatever. But in Italy, the northern Italy, due to the agriculture, the flour is a white light flour, and so fresh pasta is better. In the south, they have the durum wheat growing abundantly, so that's a wheat that produces semolina, which is a gluten heavy flour, and that's great for dry pasta. So that's, the climate that makes the difference of the different pasta and their the choice of, but not that one is better than the other. I love them both.
No, I do too. I do too. And what perfect timing now with all these wonderful sauces. We'll have your cookbook and we can just cook along with it. I love it. And the sauces are wonderful. I know I was able to find them on Amazon, but if your grocery store doesn't have them,
If your grocery store doesn't have it, tell them to get it. You want it. Help
absolutely. After
help
all,
help Lydia get there.
we will absolutely do that. Absolutely. I can't tell you what a joy it is to have you on and to see you and work with you again. This is really something special. I'm really grateful, Lydia. Thank you.
Thank you for inviting me. You look great.
Oh,
Congratulations on all your achievements and I can see that you're very happy doing what you're doing. So have a great time and enjoy.
well, like you, we have a wonderful team over here.
All right.
It takes a team, doesn't it? For sure.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Lydia, thank you so much. And all the best of holiday season to you.
The same to you, your family. And it's about cooking for all of them. That's love.
That's exactly right. Cooking is love. Well, the camera doesn't lie. As you can tell, Lidia Bastianich is an incredibly sincere, genuine person, in addition to being a wonderful chef. And she's quite talented on TV as well. Having her cook in my kitchen that day really was surreal. We had just started this business. It was back in 2009, and I really will never forget it. She shows up, knocks on the door. It was incredible. And she stayed for a very long time. We cooked all kinds of stuff. You can find the recipes on my website. And if any of you want them, email me and I'll track them down for you. On that day, I found I had written about the event and I went back to research the Lydia work we had done for today. And I ran across a post I did. It was shortly after her visit to my kitchen back in 2009. And I wanted to share it with all of you. It reads, "For those of you who know me well, you know I believe this journey into the fascinating world of food and wine was destined to be. I have to tell you, standing in my kitchen cooking with Lydia was surreal. I wonder if she noticed the glint in my eye as I was silently thanking God for being so incredibly good." I am so grateful for this podcast. I know this was a God thing too, and I'm very grateful for you. Thank you so much for watching. Get social with us. Follow us on Instagram at Goodtaste TV.